All right, we are back here. A little bit of a hiatus here for the Sky guys. We are back in the mix, taking care of some business here. We're wrapping up the Bad Batch season one, also diving into season one of Rebels as we continue the journey to the Book of Boba Fett in December. Joining me today, first up, as always, the man whose voice you just heard in our introduction here, Pete Consadori. Pete, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We're talking Star Wars, as I say every podcast. Love talking Star Wars with you guys. Um, we had our Star Wars movie rankings, which was really fun. I'm curious to see if you have any updates on what people thought after that podcast. Any reactions? But I'm excited about Rebels.
I am too. And to say the reaction from the movie podcast, which we did last month with the great John Stanko, and that was a fun list here over the 2-1 movie rankings. And the reception's been almost universally positive. I mean, we got some feedback on the Reddit streams, on YouTube. Like, people dig this.
That's fantastic.
Also with us today, the Kanan Jarrus to our Ezra Bridger here. Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing great. I had a great time last month, I guess it was, last month when we did the movie rankings. I want to shout out John for joining us. He did a great job. I'm excited to have him back with us too in the future. And I had a blast doing that. I'm excited to get into Rebels. I've been excited for this for a while. I don't like it as much as the Clone Wars, but I still like it a lot. I think it's a great show. And I'm excited about the Bad Batch too. Excited to talk about it. I'm sure we have a lot to cover with both of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to stay in continuity order here in terms of like what shows came first. So we will start off here wrapping up the Bad Batch. I mean, the last I really talked about it on here was back when we had the Rex arc, when Rex shows up and gets them out radiant inhibitor chips. I'm going to throw these spoiler warning up here. I will sum up the rest of the season for you about 5 sentences. So I'm going to get this dial up here in case you have not finished watching Bad Batch yet on Disney Plus. All right, here's what we got here. Here's the rest of the season of Bad Batch. The Bad Batch rescued a separatist senator from the Empire's clutches. We got the origin story of Hera, Syndulla, and Chopper, who we'll learn more about in Rebels. That's 2 episodes. We saw the Bad Batch basically help Sid smuggle some spice away from a bad business deal she was trying to get away with. The Empire blows up Camino. Crosshair is not an inhibitor chip, and he chose not to rejoin the Bad Batch. I think that's the whole season, right, Pete?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. That's pretty much what sums up the rest. Well, we'll get into reactions, I'm sure. So I'll let you take that away.
Yeah, I think obviously we're not happy here with how this ended up. Nick, what, in your opinion, went wrong here?
I don't think anything happened. I think it started the same way it ended. I don't think it was bad. I just don't think it was good. I don't think anything happened. I think I actually very excited for season 2. I don't know if you guys are still. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be really good. But season 1 did nothing happen. It was 16 episodes. It could have been 6.
Yeah, I mean, Pete, I think you look at it this way. You give the premiere, you have them meet Sid, the Rex stuff, and the finale. Do we need any of the rest of the stuff we got?
I mean, maybe the whole Crosshair doesn't have his inhibitor chip anymore and he still picks the Empire. I think that is kind of important.
Well, that's the finale, though.
Right. But other than that, I mean, no, we don't really need much. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Mandalorian season 1. It was still cool to watch. It's like, oh, look at these characters and okay, what's gonna happen next? And it kind of ends just like, okay, well, maybe Mandalorian ended with a little bit more of a bang, but it's kind of like, okay, we didn't really get much from this. It's like, okay, we've known that Grogu, or at that point we only knew him as the child, is like being hunted, and they're trying not to have him get taken away. So it kind of reminded me of Mandalorian season 1. We didn't really need all those episodes. It could have been like a lot of the Disney Plus shows that have been coming out are 10 episode seasons, even at 20 minutes episodes. So maybe we could have went with 10 episodes. I don't know, but a lot of filler in there. Not a big fan of filler.
Yeah. Nick, Pete brings up a good point with the Mando comparison. Even then, Mando season 1 was 8 episodes. And we didn't really feel like we had filler. We were kind of going, okay, here, and then we're at the finale. We had some fun. Here we had about 6 episodes worth of content. They made it to 16. And I think part of the problem, I feel like I wrote the blog post on this week. I wrote about what the Bad Batch season 1 review, what I think went wrong with it. I think the main problem here, in my opinion, is just the main guys in the show, the Bad Batch themselves. They do not do anything to enhance the value of the experience, because to me, they are the worst part of the show.
Yeah, this show shouldn't really be called The Bad Batch. This is a show about how the Republic transformed into the Empire and how the early days of the Empire came and how they transitioned from clones into stormtroopers. That's great, but this has nothing to do with The Bad Batch. I've heard for years on Instagram and Twitter and Reddit and in person or YouTube, whatever it is, all over the internet, that everyone says what we need is a movie or a show about a group of rogue clones. Well, you got it, and no one cares about them at all. Any of them, maybe one or two of them at tops. But that's the problem with the show is, like you just mentioned, the main characters. But the point of the show and the premise and what they're showing is great. But the way they're doing it with the characters is not hitting at all. It's almost like they don't need a main character in the show, and they can just show the Empire and I guess the early stages of the rebellion. You're not really getting that. You're getting that in Rebels, really, but at least show us something like that. That's interesting. But when you start showing us these clones and stuff, it doesn't work.
Yeah, Pete, and what sort of Bill on this, and it's something I mentioned in the blog post as well. I feel like this is a story where Dave Filoni, the creator of the show here, wanted to tell like basically season 8 of Clone Wars, where we find out what happens in the early days of the Empire. My theory here is Disney Plus said, and we are not interested in that show unless we have a way we can sell toys and get kids to buy some merch and get some stuff to sell on here. And they said, okay, take these 5 clones. We're gonna send them around the galaxy. That's what we're doing here. But they didn't do anything to develop these characters. They just used them as vehicles so Filoni could tell the story, which to me, it's bad on Filoni for not doing enough with these characters to develop them into actual people we care about. And also bad on Disney for not realizing that these guys don't work for a story.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you when it comes to Disney said they wanted to attach something like, a merchandising market out there. Right. Obviously, this is giving us more insight to what happens right after episode 3. Or pretty much during episode 3 and also right after episode 3. I have to say the comparison between The Mandalorian season 2 and this first season of Bad Batch, when it comes to what Nick just said, is uncanny. Did anyone really care about The Mandalorian himself in season 2 of The Mandalorian? Or was it more like all the cameos that happened that was like, oh, Ahsoka, oh, Bo-Katan, oh, they're asking for, where's the Darksaber? That was in the season 1. But like, I feel like there was a lot of that in these Disney Plus Star Wars series as of right now. So I find that comparison uncanny, but you're right. Disney, I think, just wanted to add that merchandising point on it. And they said, well, here's the Bad Batch. Maybe the ratings for those 2 episodes back in Clone Wars were good. Maybe they're like, oh, wow, that's a really cool, unit to maybe shed some light on. I just think it was poor execution. I think Crosshair turned too early. I think maybe if Crosshair was a part of that group for more and you humanize them a little bit more, and then you see Crosshair turn maybe mid-season or mid to late season, maybe we have a more compelling argument that the characters had development here.
Yeah, I think, Nick, also to counter the Mando point here, I think the other thing that's interesting is Mando season 2, yes, we had all the references to Clone Wars and what was going on here, but we also had season 1 where we spent episodes with Mando seeing his perspective of what was going on, seeing him approach situations and handle them, whereas here we just had the Bad Batch running into characters we knew, with just the characters we knew drove the story, not them. That's the problem.
It is the problem. And I think really your main character in this show should have been Crosshair. And it would have been a pretty good show. Like a pretty good angle to look at it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like seeing how this clone is battling his, self-conscious on whether or not he should be following orders, which it seems to be that's what he likes, or making a real name for himself and, not being a number, as Hunter said to him. So that's what I think would make the show better, is I always say this when we talk about this kind of stuff. We said this with the younglings and the Clone Wars. We said this with the clones in the beginning. If you give me 1 or 2 characters, it's a lot easier for me to connect than when you give me 5 or even 6 in this case.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to connect.
Yeah, and Pierre also thinks something else that's interesting is, like, in terms of the Crosshair angle, is just that he probably is the most compelling of the clones. We're never with him because he affects the Empire. I think I just said Nick in a YouTube exclusive chat we had earlier this month about this situation here. I said the problem I saw here is that in terms of the team's makeup, like Tech and Echo are basically redundant characters. They both fill the same niche on the team. Like, how much more interesting is it? Like, if Crosshair stays and Tech is the one who flips over and says, I believe in technology of the Empire. We're going to make a difference around the galaxy, bring some stability, and Echo has to try and fill Tech's shoes. I think that would have been a more compelling story angle, having Crosshair be the one to flip because he likes to follow orders.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there were more compelling characters to keep throughout the season. I mean, like Nick said, Crosshair is probably the main character of the season. We're kind of waiting to see what his next move will be, or if he's going to finally catch the Bad Batch. I almost kind of feel like this season is wrapped around the Empire and what they're doing instead of the rebellion. Like they have this weird dynamic where I think they're trying to make it about the Bad Batch and what the rebellion, what the right thing to do is. But I kind of feel like it swings toward how the Empire is running things, and this is the way it should be. And this is, more information on the Empire than is the rebellion is what I'm trying to get at. You're right about the redundancy. Echo and Tech have the same exact pretty much role. I think it would have been interesting if maybe Echo got involved with the Empire after knowing everything with Rex and everything like that, because he's such an established character within the Clone Wars. I still stick by my side that I still stick to what I said earlier, that Crosshair changed too early. It was just, I feel like if Crosshair on episode 10 switches and you have some filler episodes in the beginning of the season, but then have the last 6 episodes be like Crosshair hunting them down and they trying to deal with stuff, I feel like that would have been made for a more compelling ending to the season, and also maybe a more compelling season. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like there were so many other things they could have done that could have made it a little bit better. Right? But to your point, the Tech and Echo thing, and to Nick's point, Crosshair being the main character, it's all there.
Yeah, and Nick, one other thing I want to throw out here also is something I mentioned in the blog post as well, is that there's one line in the finale, I think it sums up the show perfectly and why it's nuts and working. It drives you crazy. It's like when Wrecker is talking to Crosshair when they're trying to get through the tunnels and try and get out and get back to the surface, where Wrecker says to Crosshair, like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you like helping us? And then Tech goes up to him and says, it's in his nature. He can't change. And to me, I'm like, that's the problem with the show. Like, these guys are literally just character traits, not actual characters. We got the leader, you have the muscle, you have the brains, and you have the kid who is basically Omega, basically filling the Grogu spot from Mando. And none of these characters evolve really beyond what they started as. Wrecker does a tiny, tiny bit. They all stay the same the rest, and that's a big problem with the show.
Huge. Hunter had a good development, I think.
Slightly. He basically becomes Omega's father. That's basically the whole role of the show.
Yeah, but that's good. I think that's good growth. I think Wrecker's growth is and I think Tech and Echo. I haven't heard Echo speak in 4 episodes, I don't think.
Yeah,
and Tech is like a computer. He's not really a human, or I know in this case a clone.
Yeah, it's certainly true.
I want to say this though. I have a defense for the show, and I said this to you off the air. Is when we first watched the Clone Wars. When we first watched Clone Wars and we first watched Rebels, we'll get into this in a minute with Rebels, but in Clone Wars, we all right away you jump in and you see Ahsoka and you're like, oh no, it doesn't work. I don't like this character. Same with certain character in Rebels we'll get to, and I don't think that's true for Omega though. I think Omega is pretty much accepted right away. I'm not saying I love Omega and I'm going to go buy an Omega t-shirt or whatever it is, but I don't have a problem with Omega. I never did. She's just a fine character, and I have no issues accepting her to the Star Wars universe.
So you're not going to have the Omega pop figure next time we do this podcast.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And Pete, one thing I want to get your take on here is, like, I didn't talk to you about this one yet, is the episode where we get the origin story of Hera and Chopper, who are 2 of the main characters of Rebels, where I think it's episode 12 in the season, where the only appearance of the Bad Batch in the 22-minute episode is them dropping off weapons for 2 minutes and they leave. The rest of the episode is literally on Hera and that story. That to me was where I said, okay, they have no idea what they want to do. This is a problem. Like, what would you take on that specific episode? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's the same take that you had. I think they were just like, we could do something cool here, so we'll throw it into the newest Star Wars show that we've made. I don't know why the Bad Batch didn't have more of a part in that first part of the arc, at least. like you said, I think they just took 20 minutes to say, okay, people who've watched Rebels, you're gonna like this, and we're just gonna play to nostalgia instead of actually creating some sort of content.
Yeah, it's a big issue. And in terms of season 2, we know it's coming. They didn't ask the renewal here. Aside from character development, which is obviously the easiest answer on the board, what do we want to see here to make this show better for season 2? Nick, I'll go to you first.
A clone. What's the word I'm looking for? Uprising, a rebellion.
Yeah.
It's obvious they're getting decommissioned out of the Empire. It couldn't be any more clear than blowing up Camino. I think that has to happen. I think that'd be very cool to see. And potentially seeing Crosshair lead that.
Yeah. Okay.
I also have a prediction for season 2 is that Crosshair will give his life to save Omega.
Okay, that's an interesting prediction. Pete, any thoughts that you want? Anything you want to see in season 2? What we need to fix?
So there was a lot of action in this season, but I feel like there was a lot of meaningless action. And what I mean by that is the action was more like, oh, we're getting into trouble by doing this job because we need money to eat. I want the meaningful action where, like Nick said, maybe there's an uprising of the clone troopers and there's actual fighting because they're fighting for something, not just trying to do a job like they're bounty hunters. And I think they need to really play to, if they're going to stick with that no character development thing, I think they need to play to each character's strengths even more. I think Wrecker needs to almost be like the Incredible Hulk and just mess things up to an astronomical proportion. Let's see why these clones are actually the Bad Batch, why they've been super enhanced. I feel like, yes, Wrecker is more enhanced than a regular clone, but let's make them a little overpowered. I mean, that was the whole point of the Bad Batch, is to have some OP clones. So maybe they should play on that a little bit. Yeah,
I also think we need to get them like away from Sid, because Sid to me is the worst part of the show, because the missions Sid gives them are very pointless for the storylines. You're going to go get a Rancor. You're going to go deliver weapons. You're going to go rescue a senator. Like, there's like, these stories are so random. They don't fit in. And it's like, we could just hire a bounty hunter to do that. Why are we wasting our clones' time on these things?
The point of those episodes, and I'm not saying it worked because it didn't work, but the point of those episodes is to develop the characters, but they didn't develop the characters.
No.
Like, it would be useful if, we learned, like Wrecker learned a lesson in that episode, or Tech learned a lesson that not everything can be solved with his brain. He needs to use his heart. Like, maybe something like that. And it just didn't happen. It never happened. There was no development in that. So those the episodes are ideas. Like, I get it. The filler episodes could be to learn a lesson. That's usually what they are in shows. But we never learned a lesson. I do have a little thing here that I'm seeing online a lot. I don't know what you guys think. That it's very possible, people are saying, a lot of people believe it, a lot of people say the opposite, that Crosshair still has his chip.
You think he lied to them?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe it. I heard something that, do you remember when he was sitting and Omega went to sit next to him? He had his hand on where the chip was, and as soon as she got there, he went like that, like I pulled it away real quickly, like, oh no, she saw me touching it, kind of thing. So I don't know if that's just because he has some pain there from removing it, or if it's because he is lying about it. So I'm interested. I think he is the most interesting character, which is absurd because he wasn't in half the season.
He wasn't even like, I'd say 3/4
More
season.
than that. Yeah.
Like, about 4 episodes of 16, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a problem here. And let's do some quick wrap up stuff here. Like, we usually do trackers for these seasons. Is there anything we want to track on Bad Batch yet, or no?
How many times Omega refers to them as family? It's like a Fast and the Furious tracker there. I mean,
you could throw in a cameo count.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the best one.
The Clone Wars cameo count?
Just anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, in terms of cameo count, like in general, like sort of group all together, you have Cad Bane.
I just don't think you should count Tarkin as a cameo because he's actually pretty regular.
No.
Right.
No, it's like Cad Bane, Saw Gerrera, and Bib Fortuna, the ones on top. Rex, Hera, and Chopper. You got 6.
Yeah, that's pretty significant having 6, and then if you wanted to include
Gregor,
if you wanted to include Tarkin, you're up to already like basically 8.
Yeah.
Do you have a question for the both of you, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Do you think that they're playing the Bad Batch being bounty hunters so much to try to incorporate more bounty hunters in the show? So do you think Boba Fett shows up? Do we think Greedo shows up? Like just stuff like that.
Could be the opposite.
Well, also with Boba Fett though, like they gave you the big Big Apple in the middle of the season that Omega is Boba Fett's biological sister. Basically, they completely ignore it the rest of the season. So like.
Right.
That's something that just also is infuriating. They give you that piece of information and don't acknowledge it at all.
I think they do acknowledge it, I would argue, but it's not direct.
Yeah.
I believe they're referencing that in the last scene, the post-credit scene, if you will.
There's post-credit scene?
No. Like it was before the credits, but it was like that scene where they had the Kaminoan delivered to the doctor. I believe that's supposed to be the nod to the Mandalorian.
Oh, I thought that scene was basically them just trying to retcon episode 9 again.
I agree, but if you notice that doctor is wearing the exact same outfit that Dr. Pershing in The Mandalorian, and it's the same idea, and I believe they're trying to use the blood of Grogu, which we have, this is many years away, but Grogu, and the aging or the de-aging of Omega, because she is the opposite of accelerated.
Yeah.
She is decelerated aging.
Yeah.
So the blood of Grogu and the decelerated aging of Omega creates a force-sensitive being that can live forever, which is exactly what the Sith want. Which I agree with you is what Palpatine's after. But I also heard it's interesting that it might not be about Palpatine; it might be more about Grogu.
Yeah,
Grogu's alive at this point, so
yes,
there could be a nice way to tie him in to some other media. Because I don't know if you're going to see more of him in the future, being on how it ended. You might. I'm not sure. But you can always see him in the past.
Yeah, it's certainly true. Let's sort of park that there. As we do for every season of these shows, we'll do MVPs and LVPs. We're going to do just 2 on Bad Batch because there's not enough content here, just like 3 MVPs for each or LVPs for each direction. So, Nick, you want to start us out here? Your first MVP for Bad Batch.
I'm going to go with Wrecker. Excuse me. Sorry, not Wrecker. Hunter. Sorry.
Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter, because I feel as if we mentioned, I think he's the only character in the Bad Batch who had decent development, and he's the leader, and I support him, and I stand by him. I watch the show, I root for him. I don't necessarily root for everybody else in the group, but I feel like I can root for him, and I'm not embarrassed to say it.
All right, Pete, your first one.
My first one, I'll go with Hunter as well. I feel like our top 3 are all going to kind of be the same here because I feel like there's slim pickings right now. But yeah, I'm going to say Hunter. He's a feel good character in a way of we want to do the right thing. This is not us. We need to make the best decision for the team. He's a good character, so I'll go with Hunter as well.
I will give Wrecker 1 because for me, of the main characters, he's the only one who I'm actually moderately entertained by because Hunter is what he is. Echo and Tech are the same person. Only one that has lines every episode. So Wrecker is the only one I actually will laugh at some of his exploits. So Wrecker gets the MVP for me.
I like Wrecker a lot. I think he's a good character. I think he had a good development too with Omega.
All right. And second MVP, Nick.
I'm going with Crosshair.
Okay.
I think he turned out to be a great villain, and not even a villain, like an anti-hero. And he's a very interesting character, and I'm interested to see how this turns out for him because we know by the time of the rebellion, by the time of even Rebels, clones are not in the Empire anymore. So what happens to this guy? Does he become a bounty hunter? Do they kill him? Does he join the rebels? Something happens to this guy. He's not in the Empire by the time the original trilogy comes around. And that last episode, I think the finale, he was very strong with a lot of strong dialogue, talking with Omega and Hunter. And I think he delivered a lot of strong lines.
All right, Pete, who's your second MVP?
I hate to be boring, but I just have to piggyback on Nick. Nick said it all. Crosshair has to be my second. Just a strong character, and like Nick said, I really like the dialogue that he had in that last episode. So I hate to be that guy. It's just like, yep, I agree with Nick, but I mean, he covered it all.
All right, so you guys have 2 on Crosshair. I'll throw 1 on Rex to sort of bring a carryover from Clone Wars because if he doesn't show up and get the hero chips removed, they all are just done and the series is over. So Rex is the reason we still have a show. Rex gets an MVP.
He did save the day, if that's how you want to look at it. He hit the walk-off.
Yeah, he hits the grand slam and basically saves Wrecker from murdering the entire rest of the crew.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Now the more interesting conversation here. The worst characters this season. Pete, would you like to lead us off here? Who's your first LVP?
Oh boy.
There's so many.
LVP. Jeez. I mean, I'd have to give 1 to Echo, and again, I hate to piggyback off what Nick said because I feel like it's a lazy way out. But what Nick said, I feel like he didn't really have an impact. Like I didn't really hear him a lot. It was just like, yeah, he's Echo from the Clone Wars. Like we know he becomes the Bad Batch at the end of those seasons, but it's like, I don't know. It just was like very lackluster for me. So I have to give him an LVP.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on that one too. I really have my notes written here for Echo. Can you name one thing he did the entire season?
No.
Okay, the one thing he did was convince Hunter that they should have went for that clone.
Okay,
that secret base. It's like the one thing I can feel like that stuck out to me, but it's only one.
That is only one. That's problematic because he has 16 episodes as character, and he did one thing.
Right.
Nick, are you joining the Echo train?
I am.
Oh boy.
No use for the character. Really, the show could have been the same exact thing. He wasn't there. Could have been better if he wasn't there. He made no impact whatsoever.
All right, let's go to the second one. So, Pete, your last LVP of the season.
Last LVP. Can I say the writers? Can I say the writing?
Sure. You can say the writing.
All right, only because I feel like the characters could have been a lot more. I mean, that whole story arc of that crime syndicate coming in and taking over. Oh no, I'm blanking on her name.
Oh, Sid.
Yeah, Sid's thank you. Sid's just like area and her bar or whatever, her whole operation. It was just like so whiny. It was like, they took over. You need to do something. Like it was just like the writing could have been so much better. You know, they had writers on Mandalorian that had wrote really, really good episodes, even if the characters were irrelevant. I feel like they probably should have like tried to use that same energy. I don't know. I'm gonna give it
and I think they missed a huge opportunity with having Maul show up there.
Oh yeah.
So being a random,
or maybe they want to save that. I don't know, because it seems like that's what they want to do. Like you were saying earlier, that Mandalorian season 1 kind of reminds you of this. All the stuff that happened in Mando season 1 that we were just like, what was that? It was a filler. It was a filler. A lot of it came back in season 2 and mattered. Like Bill Burr's character. What's her name? I always forget her name. The girl, she was in this show too.
Oh, Fennec.
Yeah, Fennec. Her character showed up again, so that stuff might matter.
All right, Nick, you got a second LVP you have ready to go.
Yeah, I want to go give it to Tech.
Okay, so just doubling down on the tech characters.
Yeah, I think that Echo and Tech could easily have been combined into one character, but here's the kicker. I think if they were combined to one character, that character would still get an LVP from me. I don't think they have any point. Yeah. It's almost like Omega fills that role because she's the intelligent one. Because I know she's a kid, but she's older than them.
Yeah,
she's the oldest of the crew. Which, by the way, doesn't Crosshair look like he's like 60?
Yeah, he does look like he's a very old man.
Yeah, but she's the oldest of the crew, so she could be the brains of the operation. You know, so they don't need the brains part 2 in Echo, the muscle, the leader, and the kid. That's too many people.
Okay. I will close this out here. I'm going to give an LVP to the kid in Omega just because I do not love the idea of this character basically being their answer for, we need to have a Grogu in this show. We need to have somebody they're doing here. And Omega as a character is extremely annoying because she basically has the same one note the entire season. Like Hunter, you have to help them. They need you. And I was like, fine, we're going. Like the only action we get is because Omega drives in. The action she drives is terrible.
It's disappointing, to be honest with you. It's something I mentioned and I've heard it so many times. Rogue clone show or movie. I mean, this is what you got.
Yeah. Unless these characters are going to grow, like Rex grew throughout Clone Wars. Like, unless these guys are growing, this show is not going to go anywhere.
I think they're going to rely very heavily on cameos and action next season. And I think we're going to see at least 2 of the 3 in Ahsoka, Vader, and Maul next season.
I would add Boba Fett in that mix too.
Yeah, he's still going to be young though. Remember that.
Yeah, but again, family relationship to Omega. So I think that's one they're going to pull out for sure. Okay, let's sort of move on from this dumpster fire of a show here. Unless you had anything else you want to add.
Pete looks like he has something.
No, I was going to say, wouldn't he be older? Not like too old, but like this is after Order 66.
Well, let's see. He was a
little younger in episode 2.
He was like 10, right?
Right. So I would
probably like 15.
Maybe a little, yeah.
Because it's 3 years to Revenge of the Sith, and
Yeah.
then I don't know how many years after. We don't know. We could be 2 years after. We don't know. It could be 5 years after. They haven't really given us a year for this.
Could we
which they have given. They have given us a timeline on Rebels. That's what you're about to ask.
Yeah, I was asking, could we have a time jump in season 2 of this? Would that help?
I think it could help.
Like if Omega is like, instead of like 10, she's like 14, and we go up 4 years in the future, or sort of around where the Solo timeline is. But then again, you lose
a couple
but
more
this
years.
this is what. So
no, I don't think you would, because I think the point of the show is to see the transition.
Yeah, you're not getting if you go Solo time.
Yeah. All right. That was my random thought.
Okay, let's go on to the more fun show here, which is Rebels season 1, and we jump all the way forward. I believe this is Nick. You said the timeline. This is about 4 years before A New Hope.
So the first 7 episodes are 5 years before A New Hope, and then it becomes 4 for the rest of the season.
Okay, so
it doesn't really matter. Just it's about 5 years before. Just remember that.
All right, so just this layout here. If you have not seen Rebels ever, it was basically the successor to Clone Wars. Disney bought it. They canceled Clone Wars. They started this show, and basically, I think let's talk a little bit about some of the main differences in the show, because Clone Wars, I think they start you out in a very confusing way. If you do not watch the movie, your first episode of Clone Wars is Yoda and 2 clones wandering around, and okay, they're fighting. They try and trick some in battle droids. That's the end of it. Here, they do a very good job setting you up, not only with the shorts, so you can introduce the characters beforehand, which Pete, you said they were pretty helpful?
They were. I mean, I don't think I needed them, but they were helpful. I still got a little bit of background.
Yeah. So they have these shorts, and then they give you basically your storyline. Okay, here are our main characters. Here's what they're doing. Here's what we're following for the season. I thought that was very helpful at the beginning of the season, Nick.
It was helpful, but it's something something you got, because I mentioned this before. All these characters are new. We don't, assuming you watch this stuff in order, you don't know who Hera is. I know she was in Bad Batch, but we don't know that, because if you watch this when it came out, this is 2014. And same with Kanan. He was a Padawan in the Bad Batch, and he was actually in the background in the Clone Wars in the last season, but you don't know that until that stuff came out after. So you don't know any of these characters. So it's nice that the way they introduced them, like you didn't get you're not getting an introduction to Yoda in 2008. We know who Yoda is for almost 30 years at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And P, like, what was your big takeaway watching this season? What was some of your major differences with this show compared to Clone Wars?
I didn't get annoyed at the younger characters like I did Ahsoka. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like he had a reason for why he acted the way he did. I almost also kind of got like Aladdin vibes in the beginning.
From Ezra?
Yeah, from Ezra, just like, oh, I'm just gonna steal from the market, and right, like it just kind of was like, oh,
kind of looks like Aladdin too.
Yeah,
true. So it was like that kind of vibe, but I think the Rebels captured an annoying younger kid better than the Clone Wars did. I think the Clone Wars didn't really capture it that well, and I think the background of Ezra makes it more believable. Than just this annoying Padawan or anything like that.
Yeah. And Nick, I think one thing I noticed, it was a big difference between Clone Wars and Rebels early on, was that like the entire season, they sort of had this through line going through here of like things they were connecting to, and the filler stuff was coming back. Like the episodes like 3 and 4, like they had plot points where you're like sitting there like, oh, like, why are we watching this? And then all of a sudden, oh, like we needed that TIE fighter that Zeb and Ezra stole in episode 4, and it's coming back in the finale and stuff like that. Like, they had more of a sense of like, I think it's great also Filoni having written 6 years of Clone Wars at that point, and say, okay, we have a better job of doing stuff in the filler episodes besides, oh, here's just some random adventure that means nothing later.
Yeah, this show is much more linear. Remember, I was telling you guys for like 4 months and 4 seasons, oh, well, this episode is not in order, and there's none of that. Everything's in order. It makes sense. Yeah, it's linear, but it's a good thing. And they definitely learned a lot of stuff from Clone Wars into this show. And this is probably a better, obviously the first season, it's a better show. Like, I don't know if it's as entertaining as the Clone Wars is, but I think it's written better than the Clone Wars is. And I got to say, the one thing that's criticized a lot about this show, and it's not a big deal, but, and I'm sure you guys noticed it, it's, we will get into this, is the way they make the lightsabers look in that show is so weird. I never understood why they're so skinny. I don't understand why they did it, but they did.
Yeah, that was a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it would have been viewed significantly more positive. Like it would have been viewed positively more, like viewed more positively if they just had lightsabers that are normal thickness.
Yeah, and Pete, let me throw this out here as well. Like of all the first, we've watched the first season of all three big Star Wars animated shows at this point. If you're making me go back and watch one, I'm picking Rebels over the first season of Clone Wars or Bad Batch again.
When it comes to story, yes.
Yeah,
Talking about graphics and stuff like that, obviously you're gonna pick Bad Batch every time because Bad Batch is so much newer. But like Nick was saying, very linear. I feel like I learned a lot about these characters. It also, I think, Rebels had the luxury of having to explain things, and the reason why I say that is because when you watch the Clone Wars, I feel like a lot of stuff is just like, well, you should know these characters, you should know what's going on because you watched episode 2. And I feel like that makes the story become choppy from that point forward because now they're just trying to throw a bunch of crap at you that you have to infer what's going on. With Rebels, like I said, I think they have the advantage of having to explain things and start from the beginning and saying, okay, this is why this person did this. Okay, this is why this person is important in this scene. So I think that makes it for better writing in general, but also too, I think just from the experience of doing Clone Wars, they just got better at the writing when it came to animated series.
yeah, Nick. I think one thing also helps show is that like unlike Clone Wars, where we have, one episode Yoda is the star, and then we had episode season one we had like these random Jedi we never see before and never see again. They were a star of the show. Here we have 6 main characters. They're in every episode. They have something to do in every episode. It makes it much easier to follow what the hell is going on in this show.
Yeah, it works, and these characters are like I like in the Bad Batch, you have 6 main characters too, but like the point of the show is these characters. When the point of the show is not the Bad Batch, even though it's called the Bad Batch.
Yeah,
and it's a character driven show, and like you get to know these characters. And after even like 4 episodes, I felt like I knew everything about the characters, like their traits. I didn't have to learn about them anymore. You know what I mean? So they did a great job introducing them and a great job growing them to a point where I'm still not a huge Ezra fan at this point, but it's better than he was in the first episode.
yeah. Ezra does develop as the season goes on. Like,
Yeah,
and like we even get like little bits of like backstory for Sabine and Zeb are probably the 2 like least served characters in the season besides Hera, who like basically just flies the ship the whole season. Don't know nothing about her this season at all. But I think like even then you get a little bit of information to sort of put in the back of your mind about those 2.
yep. They definitely did a good job also at like kind of hiding what the show, like, I don't want to say this is a good thing. Now it is a good thing, but like most people would consider this a bad thing, but I consider it a good thing, is they kind of hide what the point of this show really is until the way end of the season. And the point of this show is seeing how it's called Rebels for a reason.
Yeah.
In 5 BBY, before the Battle of Yavin, where we are at this point in the timeline, the Rebels don't exist yet. And I don't know if like that's really made clear enough to people. There's individual rebel cells. There's no rebels like as we know them as the Alliance to Restore the Republic, the Rebel Alliance, as they call them in the movies. Like that doesn't exist yet at this point in the timeline, and that's what this show is about. It's about how all the individual rebel cells come together and become the Rebel Alliance, and they kind of hide that pretty well up until the end. And even at the end, they show it, but like that's not the first thing that goes through your mind when you're watching that finale.
Yeah, and Pete, I feel like when we got that finale, which I think is one of my favorite parts of the season, is like we see them go get Kanan back on the ship, and then we see Ahsoka come in and sort of explain what's going on, all these different cells. It sort of felt like to me like the post-credit scene in Iron Man when Tony Stark goes back to his house after he reveals he's Iron Man. Nick Fury's there. It's like you just walked into a much bigger world than you ever know. I felt like that was sort
Very
of
similar.
very similar situation there.
Absolutely, and I really like that Ahsoka is I don't want to say responsible for the Rebellion Alliance, but it seems like she's one of the major players in starting this.
Yeah, she's high up there.
And when we leave Ahsoka off in everything going on, she is very confused as to what the right thing is to do and what's going on. And we don't know if she just goes rogue, if she's just dealing with herself. This kind of puts that thing like, hey, no, she still cares about the good in the world, even though the Jedi are no longer around, quote unquote, when there's a couple that are still around. She's like, no, I want to help head the Alliance to stop the Empire, even though the Jedi Order turned their back on me, even though I dealt with all this, all this stuff in the Clone Wars. It's a very cool moment for
Yeah.
me, at least.
Yeah, let's talk about some other stuff here. Go some episode specifics here. So, Nick, what was your favorite episode or episodes of the season?
I really liked the finale. The finale was really good, but I really, really, really liked the one episode 10 when Kanan brings Ezra to the temple.
Yes.
That was a really, really strong episode, especially considering there's only 3 characters in it, I think.
I mean, the rest are on the ship of the gang, and then they disappear for the rest of the episode, aside from observations.
Yeah, so it was a really strong episode, and Ezra had a lot of growth in that episode, and so did Kanan. That was a really good episode. I just enjoyed seeing that temple and seeing kind of like shows you, we're kind of thrown into this universe as in like the prequel era is over when we're thrown into this universe, which, by the way, that is something that we failed to mention on the Bad Batch is their destroying of Camino is literally in front of your eyes, seeing the prequel era of Star Wars fade away.
Yeah.
That's how it started with the whole Clone Wars thing. But anyway, you're thrown into this universe where the prequel era is over and the original trilogy era is begun, and you're known as the only Jedi that are left are Obi-Wan, Yoda, and not even yet Luke. And now we're, and this is the kind of the episode that shows you that stuff still happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We still have Jedi. They still exist. There's some out there still. And it kind of reminds you that this is still Star Wars in the sense that there's still Jedi lurking in the galaxy.
Yeah, Pete, I like this episode too, because I also like that. I feel like I have my notes like this is the point where Ezra's character sort of turns around, starts becoming more like tolerable and is growing a little bit. Because the first 9 episodes, he really is like a derp. He really is like a turd. The first 9 episodes, like here's where he starts actually developing a little bit.
Mike, sorry to cut you off, but there is one other episode I failed to mention that I liked a lot, and that was Empire Day.
The 2-parter.
I thought that was a very interesting thing. How it's like they celebrate that as a holiday, and like how you can see at this point in time, at least, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people in the public view Emperor Palpatine as like a good thing.
Yeah.
His public persona, he does a good job at hiding himself. But that's, please continue.
Yeah. So Pete, want to weigh in on that Yoda thing before you get to yours? Or that on Ezra's developing after that he finds the crystal.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think his development starts at Empire Day. I was actually going to bring up Empire Day before Nick did. Nick's 100% right. It's a very interesting episode, but I think his development starts in that whole arc where has a little hope that his parents may still be alive when they find that captured. I forgot what the species name is, but he has all like the Empire secrets, and he tried to like help do the right thing because he knew he didn't take care of Ezra and stuff. I think the development started there. However, that temple episode is I want to say quite rare in Star Wars. We don't really ever see, except for that one episode in Clone Wars and this episode, like what Jedi really go through and what kind of trials and tribulations they have before they become a Jedi. And I have to say, I appreciate it. And I think that this is a very cool thing to see because almost like what Luke does in the forest, Ezra does kind of the same thing here in the temple. Faces the fear, tries to overcome it and say, you're not real. So it's a very cool episode. And I actually appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. Was your favorite going to be Empire Day?
My favorite was going to be a culmination of pretty much everything that was said. I mean, I really liked the finale. I liked Empire Day. But I did also like, I wasn't going to put the temple as one of my top ones, but I did think it was a very, very strong development episode.
Yeah, I thought those two were both very good as well. I'm going to throw, besides the finales, obviously is great. The premiere itself is stellar. Like the premiere is a lot of fun. You have a fun mission set up here. Ezra getting in the mix is fun. You sort of see that these guys are going, you get the friction of Ezra sort of coming into conflict with his crew and then going on the ship and then finding out like, oh, he gets captured. We go back for him. And then he sort of decides I'm going to stick around and help these guys. Like that was a fun little way to just get you right into the mix and say, okay, these guys are all here. Like they have their things going on. That was a fun way to get us going.
I like that premiere. I liked it a lot. I thought it was good.
All right, let's go the other way. What are some of the worst episodes this season? Nick, you want to lead us off here?
I was not a fan of the droid episode. Actually, interesting. I wasn't a fan of the Lando episode either, but I think it speaks for itself. why I don't like the droid episode. I think we've touched on that more than enough times, but I am happy at least that they threw 3PO in there to have someone who can talk.
Yeah.
Better than if it was just R2 and a couple other random droids just beeping and bopping the whole time. So at least 3PO was able to speak. And also the Lando episode. I didn't like Lando too much.
Yeah, Pete, I'm sure you must have been thrilled when episode 3 of the season is droids.
I mean, do I have to comment? I mean, I think we know what my answer is going to be to that. Yes, like Nick said, 3PO being there is so much better than just having regular R units running around. But we got to get rid of these episodes. I mean, I don't know. We talked about it prior. Maybe it's to appeal to the kids more or something, but like, we just got to get rid of them. It's just, there's no room for this kind of crap anymore. I can't do it for another 5 seasons, whatever many more episodes seasons we have after this 3, 4. I don't know. Yeah. So we gotta, that's the least.
You telling me you're not dying for the episode where Chopper is the main character?
But see, here's the issue. I don't have a problem with Chopper, but if he got his own episode, yeah, I probably have a problem with it. Yeah. I probably would, because there's no, it's a droid. Like, yes, they're funny. They actually help. They are characters that complement other characters, but as a standalone character, unless you're 3PO and have lines, I can't get behind watching 20 minutes of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's also talk about that Lando episode, which to me was also, I'm sitting here, I'm like, wait, what are we doing here? Like, we know Lando cheats on things, which makes sense. Considering they bring that point back in Solo about how he cheats to keep the Millennium Falcon before Han tops him in the movie. But we get these things going on here. I'm like, we always receive Lando as sort of a smooth operator. This plan he comes up with is very, very stupid in this episode.
Yeah, you don't need to bring a character from the future into a show because you're not developing him unless you're showing a backstory, which they're not. They're not showing Lando's backstory. They're just showing an adventure that Lando had. And if you're showing his backstory, I'm in for that. I thought Solo was okay. We mentioned that in our movie rankings, but I enjoyed seeing at least the backstory of Han Solo. I don't want to see Han Solo 5 minutes before A New Hope. I don't care.
Yeah.
I think that was more of a play to just say, hey, you've watched Star Wars, Lando Calrissian. Here's Lando Calrissian. I think that was just the play.
Yeah.
Because to Nick's point, at least with Solo, even though it wasn't the best movie, at least there's a purpose to the movie. I feel like there was no purpose adding Lando to this.
At least we got to hear Billy D. Williams do the voice again, which was probably his first time in character since Empire Strikes Back, I would think.
That was cool.
Yeah, I think also, too, I want to throw out there that just, I get they set up plot elements that play off later in the season, but the episode where Ezra and Zeb are fighting and then they end up stealing the TIE Fighter, that was a very, very pointless 20 minutes. So we did set the TIE Fighter thing up. I do get that, but it was kind of eh. And we also had the episode where Sabine and Hera go when we get the first mention of Ahsoka as Fulcrum, and they go to the abandoned rebel base and meet the Fryox or whatever they are, the creatures who are scared of the light. Those were episodes. They did set up plot points. They did pay off later in the season. I did but not great.
As first time watchers, did you guys know Fulcrum was Ahsoka at all?
No.
You had no idea?
Nope. I actually had a idea that it might have been Obi-Wan. That was my prediction. I was like, okay, who would make sense to be someone trying to help rebels? And because Ahsoka left on such a weird note in the Clone Wars, she didn't even come to my mind. I thought it was going to be Obi-Wan.
I was thinking about it the whole season, thinking, I wonder if they know. I wonder if they can tell. They didn't give any clues or any hints really.
Oh.
So unless you just guessed it right, I really wouldn't have known. But I was thinking, I wonder if they know. I wonder if they know. And I think when they had the hologram, they did a very good job disguising the voice, and you had no idea who it was at that point either, right?
Yeah, so they gave you the side profile. I figure, he must be a Jedi we know. And that's why, maybe he's Obi-Wan.
Yep.
And I'm sure in 2013, when the show is airing, it's probably a big shock to the audience who has seen Clone Wars.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. This is 2014, roughly 2015. I think season 1. Yeah, they don't think anyone had any idea that Ahsoka was going to be in this show. I don't think any of these. I don't remember. I'm not sure if this is one of those shows Well, I know they wouldn't spoil that because that was like the big reveal of the season, but I don't know if this is one of those shows like after the Temple episode, did they show Lando in the previews at the end? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thing with Ahsoka, and Nick, you've seen Rebels, so you would know. I just hope it's not a wasted appearance. I'm not saying I want Ahsoka in every episode, but I hope Ahsoka's still involved. And it's not okay, you're Fulcrum, maybe a couple episodes here and there. But like, I hope she's involved. And I know, Nick, you're giving like, I'm not gonna say anything, but like something
Lips
like
are sealed.
that, yeah, something like that. That's so like a big reveal for at least someone who watched the Clone Wars and liked Ahsoka's character, at least at the very end too. For her to appear once or twice in 5 seasons is going to be like, well, why'd you even go that route?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if she plays a major role in the rest of the seasons.
Yeah, it's interesting this track here. So let's go ahead to next part of our project here, which is our trackers here. And we are going to update the 3 that we brought along with us from Clone Wars themselves. We have the Hondo appearance still at 10 because he had not appeared yet. Nick has said he is coming.
Yeah, we'll see some Hondo in this. I think I may have overstated how often, but I'll tell you, it's at least a few times.
All right.
Which is enough for a tracker.
Yeah. The Darksaber, is supposed to show up again soon, I'm imagining. So we have 5 still from Clone Wars. Bo-Katan appearing as well eventually. We have 9 from Clone Wars. See when she shows up again in Rebels.
Yeah, we're not there yet, but we'll be getting there. Now, this show is a little bit different. I'm sure you guys know. There's only like 70 something episodes, so we're
we only 3 more.
There's only 3 more seasons, 2 full lengths, and another one about this length. So we're actually put a pretty decent dent in this show already. It's not like the Clone Wars where we had so many.
Yeah, I will also throw us in here the fact that obviously Sabine's a Mandalorian, so that's also a reason that it makes you feel like, hey, I feel good about those trackers that we kept going here. I'm sure those will be influenced.
Yeah, and she's a real Mandalorian too. Like she's from Mandalore.
Yeah,
it's not like. There's been, they said in the Mandalorian, they looked at Boba Fett and they're like, you're not a real Mandalorian. He's born on Camino.
All right. So we had those going here. Well, let's start some new ones for Rebel specific here. Nick and I talked off the ERP. I want to know what you think about this one. We're going to do a tracker for characters that appeared in the original trilogy, the cameo here, and one for characters that debuted in Clone Wars, the prequels, and we'll see which appears more. What do you think about that idea?
No, I like that. I like that a lot.
All right, so to reset where we have here so far, in terms of original trilogy character appearances, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here. I have 7 so far. I have C-3PO and R2-D2.
They don't count for prequel, right?
They're in OT.
Okay, because that's where they're from.
Where they're from.
Right. Okay,
so I'm with you. When they first appear. So I have them for those 2 appearances. Oh. Lando. We got 3 from Tarkin. And Darth Vader. I'm counting only physical appearances, not voiceovers or holograms. So that's why you don't count. That's why you don't count Obi-Wan in the holocron at the beginning of the show, and Darth Vader in his first appearance, or Yoda talking to Cain in the temple.
Do you count? Well, obviously you do. I'm asking if we all agree with you counting Tarkin 3 times. I say yes because he showed 3 separate times.
He showed up 3 separate episodes. 14 and 15.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the prequel characters or Clone Wars characters, I had 2. I had Bail Organa's physical appearance in the droid episode where he gets the droids back. And I had Ahsoka. Was there anybody I missed? I do not think so.
I don't think so. And I have a question for you. Does Bail Organa count as a prequel or original? Because he's not in the original physically, but he is. Are you going off physical appearance?
It's the same rules here. We get the name. We don't physically see him until
actually I don't even think you get the name until.
How many do you have from Bail Organa?
I had 1 episode from him.
Just the droid one, right? The droid might have been. Are you sure it wasn't 2?
I think he's a hologram. The second one.
True. Hologram.
Because he's a hologram. Ahsoka's there physically. He's a hologram.
Oh, I thought they showed him on his ship. Okay.
He was on his ship.
That's the only time they showed him.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
When he gets C-3PO and R2-D2 back and pays the Ghost crew.
Right.
Yeah. So there are 2. The OT is at 7. So I think we'll keep those 2 going here and see what happens with them. See which trilogy gets referenced more.
Yeah, I think it's going to even out a lot.
Yeah, because
I honestly, I don't want to spoil anything. I think there's only 2, maybe 3 more OT the entire time.
We'll see if you're right.
I think.
And you're putting Obi-Wan in the OT. You're not putting in the prequels. Okay.
Yeah. So outside of him, I think there's only one. I know for a fact there's one, and there's one that I'm not sure if we're going to count.
All right, so we'll put him there, and we're also going to put here. I think specific for the show. I think you would agree, Pete, that season one. I feel like every episode is basically either about Kane or Ezra. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any plots for the other main characters, and by main, I'm talking, Zeb,
Sabine, and Hera.
and Hera.
All right, so I'd say we put a track here that every time they are the star of an episode, they get a point.
I mean,
We're
I
zero
feel
right
like
now.
I feel like the show is just going to be about those two, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
You'll
like-
get some. You'll get some.
I think
I
this,
honestly, I don't know if you're getting any Zeb episodes. I'll be honest with you.
So do you want to track how many are not about Ezra and Kanan?
that's my theory here because those three are going
Okay.
to be the ones that
Okay.
drive the rest of it. So
Right. So yeah, that makes sense then. If you want to count how many they're not the stars of it, yeah, I think that's a good.
like the other three basically are sort of being the headliners here.
Right.
Yeah. So like they're right now it's at 0 because we got like a Sabine subplot and a Zeb subplot, and we got nothing on Hera the whole season.
Yeah, I don't. Well,
All Hera does
are
really.
you talking star as in we're learning something about the character, or that they're the main focus for the episode?
I'd say more main focus, like Sabine telling us a lie about how she has to learn to trust people is not really a
So, like you
subplot.
wouldn't count Hera and Sabine going to do that old Jedi, now the old Republic base episode as focused on them.
I would have to reevaluate that one, Nick. But you
Okay.
remember about
Yeah,
that?
that might classify. That's a good point.
I
It's iffy because you're having. You guys know how TV works. When you have 4 to 6 characters, you usually split them up in 2 or 3 groups and have them do their thing.
Yeah,
Like any episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia works that way, where it's 2 of the guys and the other 3 go one way, and then at the end they meet up and go, "You guys are doing this too." That's how it always works.
yeah, it's that one's a little confusing. I have to look back on that one. It's either gonna be 0 or 1. It sounds. I can't think of any other thing where like they were sort of the only.
Yeah, that would
what-
be the only.
What if it is what? So I'm assuming the answer is no to this, but I just want to confirm if you have 2 people, one from Ezra and Kanan and one not. It's still focused on Ezra Kanan, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like they're the ones we've established as basically the lead
Yeah,
for this.
Like
group.
Ezra and Zeb were together in that episode. That's still an Ezra episode.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
because it's basically Ezra fighting with Zeb. It's not like Zeb sort of like driving the action.
Right.
You know, Zeb is the character that when I first saw him, when I first watched the show, I was like, who the hell is this guy? He's pretty cool. I like Zeb.
All right.
I feel like he's like a pretty, I don't think there's anything to dislike about him. I don't love Zeb, but I like Zeb.
All right. And just for debate, I know this was going to be fun because we're going to have different interpretations of this one always. Pete, we have noticed that Chopper is a very violent droid.
He's such an ass.
Yeah.
He really is. I mean, he's very violent. He's just like, I'm going to throw this droid. I actually chuckled. I have to say, I chuckled when they had the messenger droid from the Empire on board, and they're like, "Oh, we can keep him," and like,
Chopper,
whatever. And Chopper just chucks him off the ship. That's like, I was just like, that's hysterical. That guy, but he's a very
violent character.
He's a real jerk.
Yeah. So we are creating the Chopper kill count. Every time Chopper murders someone, we're gonna add victim to the ledger.
I like it. Droids too.
Droids too.
Okay.
We're like, so
I love
basically,
it.
like if the droid, we see the droid alive after after Chopper messes with him, that's not like gonna count. But like the droid laying in the field doesn't count. But like,
What
and
about
Mike-
like him forcing Ezra to fall off the ship and almost dying?
well, Ezra's not dead, is he?
So it's not attempted murder. It's
The
murder.
actual murders.
Okay.
Yes. So for here's what I have down. I went back through season 1 to track this because I was like, wow, Chopper is very violent. I need to see what he's done to people. So what I have here, going back to the short, he blows up a TIE fighter, so he kills a TIE fighter pilot. He kills up 3 more TIE fighters in the premiere, so that's 4. That's up to 4. He shorts out the droid when they are trying to meet the senator traitor and shoves it down a chute. We never see him again, so that's a droid murdered. And he sends 4 stormtroopers out into space in the finale, so that's 9 already for Chopper.
Wow.
I think we should bet on whether or not we're going to hit 50.
Should do over unders.
Yeah, we should do it over under on like 50 for Chopper kills.
50 and a half over and under.
Yeah, we'll set this up here. Like, who has more kills at the end of the show, Chopper or Jack Bauer?
Chopper or the Ghost.
Or the
Like everyone combined.
You gotta outdo everyone else because they've made a point that crew is supposed to be non-violent crew, but Chopper's the violent one.
Yeah.
So I think
Speaking of Chopper, if you guys have not noticed, Chopper and Hera are in Rogue One.
I did not catch that.
So I want you to Google. I will send you a link also, but I'll send you the link actually, and we'll go from there. But Chopper, Hera, and the Ghost are in Rogue One.
I gotta look at that. I didn't know
I will
that.
send you guys. I'll send you guys a link. So don't look yourself. I'll take care of it.
I'm assuming it's a cameo.
Well, it's if you remember, remember when Jin finally convinces everyone that they should be going to battle, and then they leave unannounced, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the guy runs out and he grabs Mon Mothma and he goes, "Senator, Senator."
Yeah.
Like right after that, they start preparing their forces. You see Chopper scoot on by or whatever he does, wheel by.
Yeah.
And you hear on the intercom in the background, they're paging General Sandula, which is Hera.
Yeah. So Chopper.
So Hera's not in it, I guess. They mentioned her, but Chopper is physically there, and the Ghost is at the Battle of Scarif in the air.
So Chopper's going wah 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 in the background.
Yeah, he just goes from one side to the other of the screen, kind of thing, and it's clearly him.
Yeah. Okay. And also, I did look up Jack Bauer has 309 kills over the course of 24. So we'll see if Chopper can top that.
I think it's gonna be tough.
I don't know. All it takes is one massive explosion. He that blows up a ship or something. I could do it.
Yeah.
Good luck counting those casualties.
Yeah.
All right. So we're able to put the Chopper kill count at 9. So we'll see how Chopper does over the course of the series in terms of murdering Imperial forces. And as always, we're going to
sorry, Mike. One thing, Pete, I already told Mike this. I don't know if you know, Chopper is voiced by Dave Filoni.
Ah,
I do love Chopper though.
He does good beeps and boops.
Which is it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's go to now the MVP and LVP board. I'm going to throw up for reference what we ended Clone Wars with, which is seasons 1 through 7. Like the Clone Wars board ended with Ahsoka as the top point earner there, along with Mr. Maul was a very high score on the MVP LVP board. We had also some negative ones down there. We had our bottom 5 there were the writers, the Jedi Council, the droids as a unit, the Investigator Douche, and Zero the Hutt. So interesting to see who will end up on these lists here this season. So, Pete, you want to start? I'll give you your first MVP for season 1 of Rebels.
So, I'm going to go with someone that's probably not on the top of everyone's list, but I really like the Inquisitor.
Ooh.
Really, really like his character. I don't know what happens past this season with him, but I really liked what role he played in this season. I think it was almost a Ventress kind of mock-up, right? It was just kind of like a reskin of Ventress, if you will. I just think he was better. I just think he was more in tune with I work for the Empire and I'm gonna mess some stuff up to try to find Jedi. Again, I think because of writing and where the timeline was for Ventress, it was a little more difficult to have that certainty. But I think I really like the Inquisitor.
Yeah, Nick, that's a good point on the Inquisitor also, because obviously at the beginning of the show, these guys are small potatoes. Not saying Darth Vader after these guys, so it makes sense to have like a sort of an underboss, have this be this Inquisitor guy.
Absolutely, and as a whole, I've always hated the idea of Inquisitors.
Yeah.
Always, I just don't like the idea. I think it's silly. But that being said, the Inquisitor is getting one of my MVP votes. I agree. I never liked the idea of them though. I don't know why Vader doesn't need apprentice. Like it just seemed weird to me that they had like many of them too. Like I know we have only seen him in this show, but there's a lot of them. Like you played Fallen Order before, Mike. I don't know if you finished, but there's a lot of Inquisitors in that show. There's many more pop up in this show. Like I don't like the idea that there's many Inquisitors and like a whole Sith army. I just don't like that idea, but this Inquisitor himself is great. He's a great villain, and I think he steals the show as the main villain when I don't think he's supposed to.
Yeah, I don't think he is supposed to. I think it's supposed to be. I think they want Callus to be the main villain, but this guy's better.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, my first MVP. I'm gonna give it to Kanan here, Kanan Jarrus, because he obviously at the start of the show he's basically buried his Jedi past. Says I want nothing to do with it. I'm just trying to do what I can to help people out, and then he realizes this kid we found has potential here. I'm going to help him out. So he takes on this very annoying little boy, helps him start learning the ways of the Force, even though he never finished his own training because of Order 66, which he learned in Bad Batch. And seeing the way Kane steps up to the plate here, good job here. And also effective co-leader of the Ghost crew. So I'm giving Kane an MVP. Pete, your
go
second.
ahead.
How many MVPs are we getting for this
3.
season? 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely give him the MVP as well. I'm a little bothered. I'm a little bothered by him saying we'll get you to a new master to Ezra. Only because how many more Jedi does he think is around to just pick up Padawans? You would, yes, it was like a fleeting thought, right? It wasn't anything like too serious because he was trying to rescue another Jedi master, but it's just almost like that kind of bothered me. It was like, obviously it's not working, so I have no faith in myself, so I'm not gonna have faith in you. But then obviously he turns around, so that was good character development. That was just like the only thing I was just like, oh, come on, man. Like, really? Like, you should be all in on this. This is like, you don't know how many Jedi are left.
What you just said is the reason I don't like the Inquisitors, because they're fallen Jedi who survived Order 66. And it's like, how many people survived Order 66? Like, every time a new show or game or comic comes out, there's another guy who survived. It's like, who did they kill at this point?
Right.
Yeah, it's like they supposedly there's 10,000 Jedi at the time of I forget who was in this show. It's like 10,000 Jedi at the time of Order 66, and like that's what make basically the amounts of like different Inquisitors and Jedi who were supposed.
I was always under the impression that there were 2 who survived, Obi-Wan and Yoda, and then we've learned over the years how many more there were. From all the shows.
That was about like 50 to 100 at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that being said, though, my second MVP is also Kanan. I think he's a great leader. I think he's kind of like an Obi-Wan in a way, like kind of by the book kind of master. You know what I mean? And I think he's well respected and liked by everybody on that ship. You could tell how Zeb seems to be like a badass, take no rules kind of guy, but he really doesn't take any like disrespect towards Kanan. And you see the same from Hera. You see a little bit of a love relationship there between them. Then you see Ezra obviously looks up to him, and even Sabine. I feel like they don't really talk, to be honest with you, but even Sabine, like they all have respect for Kanan.
All right, my second MVP. I have to do it because I love this guy so much. I'm getting Chopper on the board here as an MVP because
you're just excited about the kill count.
The kill count is great. Like, he saves their bacon on so many occasions with like his stuff, and like he gets put in these spots that are like absurd. Like, he's basically posing Imperial droids. He's not afraid to get down and dirty with it, and he's got the sass that makes him such a fun character. I'm giving Chopper an MVP.
He is the better of the droids when it comes to that show, I have to say.
All right. So, Pete, final MVP.
I have to give it to Hera, and the reason why I do that is because she is the pilot that is really making sure they're all getting away safely. She's a fantastic pilot, as you can see in the show. But I also think she drives Kanan to teach Ezra.
Yes.
She's kind of the force. I think if Hera wasn't behind Kanan saying like, hey, you really need to do this, he may not have the confidence to do it, and he may not do half the things that he needed to do for Ezra. So that's why I give her the last MVP of the season.
Yeah, she's the glue of that crew.
She is the glue, but I think she's also a push. I think she's keeping everyone together, but she's also like hey, you did the wrong thing, but let's go do it. I'm proud that you did this. Like, it's like, we will push through because I say we're pushing through. And like I said, she pushes Kanan to do the right thing and to make sure that Ezra gets the proper training that he needs. I mean, obviously Hera can't do the training, but she pushes Kanan to do it.
Nick, who's your final MVP?
Mine is Sabine. I'm a huge Sabine fan. I think she's awesome. I think she's badass. She's supposed to be like the good looking one of the crew. You see Ezra falls for her immediately. Like, Lando's like interested in her, even though she's probably like 17. I think she is 17 at the time of the show. Or actually, I think she might be 16 and Ezra's like 14. But either way, she's supposed to be like, the good looking one. She's like, and she's badass. And she's a Mandalorian, and I love Mandalorians. And she's a strong female character. She is literally strong in a literal sense. Like, she's actually a strong person, but she's also take no nonsense kind of guy, similar to Zeb, but like a girl.
Yeah. Yeah, Sabine was on my honorable mention list because I have one guy I want to sneak on there on the list here. Got Sabine, as you mentioned, the good points because like not only like a tremendous fighter, but also very skilled with like the tech also. Like, she's very quick with like the bombs and like the guns and the side and the stuff like that. She's really resourceful with all the technology she has around her.
Yeah, I think she's so cool. I like when that Lando episode when she had those two guys at gunpoint and then just shot and they ran away. Like, she's a badass character.
Yeah. My final MVP on the board here. I'm giving one. I hated him in Clone Wars. I'm giving one to Tarkin because Tarkin shows up in episode 13 after the ghost crew of these six people basically run circles around the Empire all season. 5 minutes has them all in a trap, has Kanan captured, and basically almost has the whole crew brought down. So Tarkin, good job there, buddy. You actually show why the Empire is actually a menacing, not like a complete bunch of fools like Cal's have you believe. So Tarkin gets an MVP for me.
Yeah, he's a lot better in this show, and I think he actually is just as good in this show as he is in Bad Batch. I think he's pretty good in that show too. But his Clone Wars was pretty bad.
Yeah. So that wraps up the MVPs. Here, let's go the other way. It turns to the LVPs. Pete, you want to lead us off at the LVPs? Who's your first one?
Callus.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I'm sorry. Like, he's just the try hard. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm the best. And he gets tricked by an Imperial recruit, some like young kid who's just like, yeah, you have a package, even though it's not yours. You should go check it out. Maybe you should do it. I didn't order anything. No, you did. You definitely did. And just tricks him for like a half an hour. So while Ezra like steals files, he's just a dunce. No, LVP.
Nick.
Also, Callus, I have a few reasons here. Number one is everything Pete said. Number two is he's supposed to be the main villain of the show, and he's not. The Inquisitor is. And the last reason is, this is kind of spoiler, but it's really not. So I'll make it so you guys say this to me, so that way I'm not spoiling it. We heard a name in The Mandalorian. You know this guy's in this show and he hasn't showed up yet.
Gideon?
No, not Gideon. So Ahsoka says this name in The Mandalorian.
Oh, Thrawn.
Yeah, you know he's in this show. We know he's in previous Star Wars material. So my point is, they bring in another villain because this guy isn't good enough at being the villain. After he failed and someone else took the... You see what I'm saying? They just keep like... Yeah. And I will say this, though. Although he gets an LVP for me, keep your eyes on him.
Yeah. I'm also going to add one to the pile for him because, again, you are the commander of this Imperial battalion on this planet. You have all these troops. You have all these ships. You have all these weapons. You're getting run circles on by 5 people in a droid. And they're basically interfering with all your operations. You cannot stop them. That's a really bad look for you, dude.
But seriously, keep your eye on him. He's not done.
All right. We'll keep an eye on him. So, Pete, second LVP.
So, I don't remember her name, but she was the one that got tricked by Sabine in the train. She's like the Imperial governor, or
the governor of Lothal or whatever.
Yeah. She was just all bark and no bite. She was just like, "What do you mean this? Go get." Like, she was just so annoying. Didn't add anything, but she was in way too many episodes. I don't know. We didn't need her.
Just like Sid.
Yeah, like I just like we could have had maybe Tarkin in there more. We could have had maybe Callus in there more instead of her. Like I just don't think there was any need for her character. Like they could have had other figureheads for Lothal.
Nick, your second one.
I have to go with Ezra. He just didn't have a strong showing in the first season. I think he will grow on all of us, and I think he ends up being a nice, strong character at the end here. But for now, he did not have a strong season. He did end much better. He did, but I think by the third third of the season, like the ending. Yeah, he was a good character, but for the majority of that season, he was whiny, which was not the worst part of it. He was like whiny, but also like cocky, and it was kind of like weird.
Yeah.
Like he was cocky about like nothing. Like an Anakin was cocky. At least he was, Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
He was cocky about how he stole. What was it? They stole fruit.
He stole fruit. He would steal like battle helmets and stuff.
Yeah, like it's not that difficult. They made the story. They could not make the stormtroopers look any worse than they have in the history of Star Wars, and that's who he was stealing from. It's not that impressive.
Yeah. I'm also dumping one on Ezra too, because the character is basically a turd for the first 2/3 of the season. The point I said before, when he gets the crystal in the temple, that's when the turn happens, when he starts getting better. But I can't ignore how bad he is the first 2/3 of the season, where he's very whiny. He's getting in fights with everybody on the ship. He's getting themselves into trouble. He's basically taking on these really stupid risks. He's whining to Sivo about like how like you couldn't save my parents. You know, Sivo's trying to help him now. So very poor attitude. Ezra gets an LVP from me. So I'm gonna jump on that pile with you, Nick. And Pete, your final LVP.
I'm gonna go Padme. No, I'm kidding. So I'm gonna go Ezra, but I want to make Darth Vader a honorable mention. He shows up, doesn't do much. I rather just hear about him, and then at the end, Tarkin brings him on to like take care of matters in his own hands because obviously no one else could. You show a powerful character like that and then don't use it. It just makes no sense to me. So that's why I would give him an honorable mention. But I have to go with Ezra as well. Underwhelming, annoying. Yes, he has a reason to be annoying. He has a reason to be this kind of annoying kid who was left alone and he wants answers, but not much to show there either. And he's one of the main characters. So that's why he has to get the actual LVP point for me.
Yeah, in terms of the Vader situation, though, I'll point out with that, I get what they did there because like this is a brand new property, and your first scene is him on the hologram instructing the Inquisitor, say, "Hey, go find the Jedi." Sort of get your exercise set there, and because again, he's Darth Vader. He does not have time to go bother with 5 random rebels on Lothal. That's what you have these stormtroopers for. And then when he finds out, oh, they have Jedi who are proving problematic, that's when he decides, I got to get involved. And that's when Tarkin brings in the big guns. I think that makes sense for how they used him in season 1.
I think the story makes sense.
You don't like what the writers did with it.
To me, it's not even that. To me, don't show the character if he doesn't have a time to deal with the characters in the show, right? So like if he doesn't have time, he could be mentioned, right? The Inquisitor could say Lord Vader has instructed me to do so, but you don't have to show him on screen. Yes, new property, I understand you want to get that off factor, look, it's Darth Vader, but like you show a character as powerful as Vader when you literally can just use his name and then show him the last episode. I mean, look at Rogue One. Vader was a barely there, but it still had the same effect. Like he actually did something, and there was some sort of reasoning for him being there. Some sort of reasoning. You're trying to make it go into the the whole New Hope thing. Episode 4. To me, if you're going to show someone on screen, there's got to be a purpose. And if he doesn't have time to do what you're saying he does, which I agree with you 100%, there's no reason to show him. Just mention him and then show him at the end, like, okay, I need to get involved. Now you'll see me walking down with the breathing and everything like that.
All right, Nick, your final LVP.
Unfortunately, it goes against someone's MVP, and I always feel we were doing that. I have Hera. I feel like she was just the mom, and that was it. I think what Pete said, though, is very true. She drives Kanan, which is a good point. But I feel like she doesn't really do anything. She just kind of like...
She's the echo of the season.
Yeah, she just kind of there.
That's
and
fair.
I think she's like the mom. That's literally, I feel like, her whole role. And the good news is Hera is not winning the LVP in this season, in this series. This is probably the last time anyone's going to mention her name on this list. But I think that I was surprised rewatching, as in I haven't seen this show in, I don't know, 6 years or so. And I'm sitting there like, I thought Hera was involved more. Like I was concerned on like when we're going to see more of Hera. Kind of like, I don't remember every episode. I forget probably 80% of the episodes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
So yeah, I just remember the key plot points and like the big episodes. But like, I'm sitting there thinking like, when are we going to see more Hera? When are we going to see more Hera? And it didn't really happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to throw out 2 honorable mentions before I get to my last LVP, which is number 1, C-3PO is an LVP candidate here because he calls the damn Empire. Like you're supposed
he worked for the Empire.
Yeah. His whole thing was he was supposed to be on a secret mission to stop them from getting like ion guns, and he's like, "Come save us, and you'll get the guns."
Snitch.
That was a bad one.
You know him; he's a coward.
Yeah, he is a coward. Also, the other I don't mention, I didn't want to give it to him because this is like a lane character. I'm pretty sure we'll never see again. Like the crime, as Morgan, the crime lord that Lando is dealing with, is like a very pathetic character. Like he's
the big pink guy.
Yes, the pink guy,
the new Zero.
Yeah, I don't remember at all. Actually, this is interesting, but I would not be shocked if we saw him again.
Yeah, well, he's not on the board right now. I'm gonna give the last LVP to Lando because Lando looks very dumb in his entire episode here because he's a very convoluted plot to steal this like puffer pig, and then he lets Chopper steal his fuel at the end of the episode, and like Lando is sort of like, well, I'm gonna trade Hera away to and not tell her the plan, and she'll figure out the plan. Like I don't know what Lando was like.
Sounds like Holdo.
I don't know what drugs Lando was doing here, but like Lando was not on his game.
I mean, can we make the argument that that's just what Lando is? I mean, he's supposed to be that kind of like sneaky, kind of devious. Like I don't know. I kind of felt like he was within his character, but it was a little over the top. I have to say that, but like I feel like it was kind of within what he is.
Yeah, because I feel like they were trying to lean into like, oh, he's a charming son of a gun, like, and he's gonna win them over by being smooth and like all that. But like, he was way over the top for Lando.
I think Lando's thing that he kind of developed in The Empire Strikes Back is that he subverts expectations.
Yeah,
And they were just like trying to make him subvert expectations, but it like too much in this episode. But they didn't have to do it.
They made him a cartoon version of himself.
Yeah.
Like not even the fact that he's animated, just the fact that literally he has done things that like just slapstick plans. Like literally Lando, you know, based on the fact that he's smart enough to basically cheat his way through card games. He's got a more developed plan than, oh, I'm gonna trade a pilot for a pig and then just hope that I get away with it.
Yeah.
Seems like a
I think the animation in this show, obviously, because it's newer than the Clone Wars, but even the late seasons of Clone Wars, I think the animation in this show is better. But I don't mean what I mean to say is the character models.
Yeah,
I think like remember what Count Dooku looked like in the Clone Wars? How ridiculous he looked.
Oh yeah,
like all these characters look pretty realistic in a way. I mean, obviously they're alien species and stuff, but they look like you can convert them to live action and it would look okay.
I do like Ahsoka better in the last season of Clone Wars than this season of Rebels. I have to say.
She is, though.
Like,
you have to remember, she's like 14 years older.
No, I know, but her face is like so much longer. Like it just doesn't. It almost looked like a Count Dooku thing to me. I don't know, maybe because I'm so used to seeing Ahsoka have a certain character model that now it's switched. Since like, wait, what?
This is also closer to like what we see when Rosario Dawson plays.
No, you're right. No, you're 100% right. I'm not saying it doesn't fit. It doesn't work. I think I prefer the character model of Ahsoka in Clone Wars. I think it just looks more realistic. I'm not saying that it's not following her age or what she actually looks like in Rosario Dawson's character and all that. So,
all right. So that's our LVP board right now, and we used to do a season rankings here, but this is our only one so far. So it is 1 of 1. And we can all agree on that.
I'll put the season 1 ahead of the shorts.
yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah, well, I kind of loop season 1 in with the shorts. You want to do that? Fine, we can do that.
Why not?
All right.
If any season falls below the shorts, there's a problem.
That was like if any season of Clone Wars fell behind the movie.
Yeah.
Which we don't need to revisit that one.
To be fair, the shorts weren't bad. They were just it was 12 total minutes of 4 of them.
Yeah.
Can I make this interesting?
Yeah.
Where would you guys rank Rebels versus the Clone Wars seasons? Where in there would you put them?
I would probably put it somewhere equal to season 4 of the Clone Wars. Maybe one below it.
I think
the same thing.
Right around that spot.
Yeah.
I think I put it above season 4. This is not peak Clone Wars where 5, 6, and 7 are on a different planet than this is, but it was good.
Okay.
All right.
I was too. I was just curious what you guys thought.
Yeah. Before we get to the odds and ends here, Nick, season 2, 22 episodes coming here. What do we have to look forward to?
Season 2 of this show is very good. About halfway through this season, we get a big episode. And I'm going to go on record, Mike. You can put this all over the internet. The finale of this season is the best episode. It's a 2-parter. The best episode of animated Star Wars ever. And it's not even remotely close.
Even ahead of the epic Clone Wars finale.
I think it's much better.
Interesting.
I think it's not even close.
Wow.
I think it has one of the most powerful moments in all of Star Wars in it.
That's really high praise.
Yeah.
We know how much you love.
I've said that about this show. I've said that
the highs are higher.
The highs in this show are really, really high.
Yeah.
But there aren't as many of them as there are in Clone Wars.
Okay, so that's we got some stuff to look forward to with season 2. 2 more odds and ends before we go is number 1, the Star Wars Hotel at Disney. Have you guys seen this?
I have,
Kind of.
and I have considered it.
All right, so I'm
Doesn't
gonna
have a
try
money.
and get this screenshot up here of this hotel here, which is like so absurd. I mean, I got
I've seen the pictures of the rooms.
the drawing, not even actual pictures of rooms yet.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The price of this thing is basically it's an immersive Star Wars experience.
Yep.
Where you get to go, your hotel is basically like a ship. You're going through all these experiences. You go to the Star Wars park, you play games, you build lightsabers, you go on missions, all for the whole about like $4,000 a night at minimum, which is
Is
absurd.
this
Is this
Cali-
night or $4,000 the experience?
is
I
this
think
California or Florida?
Florida.
Florida.
Okay.
I am looking
$4,000 for the whole experience.
I see it's $6,000 for 2 nights.
for. I see here 2 guests. Like these are the dates I have on their site right now. It's from August 20, 2022 to 9/17/2022. For voice parts for dates, most weeknights, 2 guests per cabin, $1,209 per guest per night was $4,800
guest?
per guest per night. So $4,800 for the voyage total. So
but split between 2 guests.
$4,800 a night.
Wow.
And 3 guests, like $52.99, $889 a night per person. 4 guests.
I feel like that's not going to go over too well. I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't want to pay that money for that. Like, they'll make it cheaper.
There's one thing if something's expensive, like sitting at a
Right.
close up at a baseball
That's a
game or something.
lot.
But this is like buying a car.
But well, here's the issue. The issue with this is it's not a 7-day experience. It's a
Like 2 days.
2 nights. So I don't think anyone's going to fly down to Florida just for that. So to spend the money to go to Disney World and then do that on top of it, I don't feel like a lot of people will do it at that price point.
I
If
mean,
they dropped it down for like $1,000 a person, right, for the 2 nights, I could say, all right, that is expensive, but it's not as bad as $4,800 a night per room.
yeah,
I mean, that's nuts.
But to me, it's like they're like these Star Wars fans are crazy. They'll buy anything. Like, and
Yeah, but I don't know.
it's like for me, it's like they get you like
And they're only doing it those dates.
that's the dates that I had available. Like they're still
Okay.
doing plenty. It's like it's
Right.
a separate hotel that's opening. Like
I don't think it's going to last that at that price point.
that price.
They're
is
going
come
to
down.
if they're going to put all their marbles into this and they need people to actually do this regularly for it to not close down, they can't charge people that kind of money.
Yeah, it's
can't.
literally like buying a car every time you go.
Right.
It's craziness.
If
You
it's
have to, people have to
something that's
finance that
necessary.
for years.
Right. If you're going to do this for the whole season every year and you want this to be a thing for a few, maybe even 10, 15 years, be an experience with the park, you have to make it a lower price point.
Yeah.
If they would have said we're only doing this for like a month, okay, you'll get the Star Wars freaks to go out, do it. Hey, I'm spending that money. I don't care because it's never going to be like that ever again. Okay, I can understand that price point. But if you're going to do this for the length of the park, there's no way in hell you're going to get people consistently to spend 10 grand for 2 people, 10 night, like 2 for 2 nights. That makes no sense.
I agree.
I also think with that, it's like you see the stuff there. It looks cool, but at the same time, it's 2 nights. Like
I can go to Galaxy's Edge, spend $200 to do the lightsaber and the droid, and stay at the resorts and probably still spend less money for the whole thing than the 2 nights that are there. I mean, I can have a whole Disney vacation plus buying the lightsaber and the droid,
and probably drive down to Universal for a day too.
Yeah, I mean that they can't keep that at that price point. They can't. It won't work.
It's obscene, that price point. It's like they're especially for just 2 nights. Like if it was like a week you stay at the hotel, I'm like, okay, I can buy that because that's like a much more reasonable per night rate, and you can maybe space the activities out. But
yeah, it's still not reasonable per night, but it makes a little more sense.
if it's $4,800, divide that by 7, let's say 6 nights you're staying there. That's what, like $600 a night?
Oh no, if it's at the $4,800 mark for 7 nights, yeah, it makes sense, or 6 nights.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do 10 grand for
Yeah.
7 nights or 6 nights, it makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. I think this for me is like I'm dying to see how long this lasts before you start seeing like on the news like the price is dropped down to like half of this at least.
It's gonna be more than half because still at $5,000 a night for 2
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Who the hell is doing that?
Yeah, I mean
Honestly, that's like more expensive than my honeymoon.
Yeah.
That should tell you something. That should honestly tell you something because honeymoons aren't cheap. Like that.
It's
That's
really
Like
ridiculous.
significantly more expensive than my honeymoon.
Yeah. It's like, who is buying this experience?
I'm
Who
going
can-
to I'm going to Italy for my honeymoon, and it's like a third of the price.
That's nuts.
That's just absurd. I mean, that's really bad. The other thing I want to touch on, we're going to mention this briefly next time we come on here. They released the trailer of the next Star Wars product on Disney Plus here, the animated shorts Visions. Nick, I know you were excited about this.
Yeah, this looks cool. Anything with the name Star Wars in front of it, I'm excited for. I guess it's like all different stories.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like-
gathering.
It's like basically 9 like anime style shorts.
Yeah, I mean, cool.
Something
You know, something different, and also like it's nice to get a break from heavy material for a little bit. Like we had like a nice 6-month break from when the Mandalorian ended to when the Bad Batch started, and it gave us time to like watch Clone Wars and stuff. It'd be nice to just have an episode that's just going to be Rebels, and then yeah, we'll have those shorts in there too, but they're not going to be much to touch on.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Pete, you excited for this?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't really looked into it too much, but like Nick said, anything that has Star Wars in the title, I'm curious about it and will definitely watch. So it's something that I will definitely give a chance.
Yeah, that's fun. The last thing is obviously we're in sort of the what if era of Marvel now. They have the animated show out. 2 episodes have dropped. Not seen the second one yet. I was talking about this with Sandra Rose on the podcast last week. I think it'd be fun if we saw a what if in the Star Wars universe. Nick, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm in the same boat as you. I saw the first, haven't seen the second one yet, but I would love that. And if I had to like pick, so I don't want to pick the obvious one. The obvious one is what happens if Anakin didn't go bad. That's very, very,
Very easy.
very clearly the obvious
I have a
one.
good what if.
So my what if is, what if Mace Windu survived?
That'd be fun.
Where is he? What's he up to? You know, but it kind of sucks because we know how the story ends. So it's like, well, it wouldn't have mattered because the good guys won anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but I would like to see that.
Pete, what's your what if?
What if Jar Jar Binks was a Sith Lord?
That was the one Sandra Rosa brought up last week.
I think
Oh, that's not a what if. That's true.
No, but like, what would it look like? Another what if for me would be, what if Padme wasn't a senator?
Or what
Like,
if
I
Jar
wonder-
Jar never voted emergency powers to the Chancellor?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, well, the reason why I say what if Padme was never a senator, like, I wonder if the pressure of keeping things secret and stuff like that would have been as great with Anakin and you know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if there would have been.
They had to keep it secret because she was a Jedi, but they had to keep it more secret because she was a senator.
And also she had a hand in it, and he would get mad because she had different opinions. Like, I wonder if she was just a regular civilian that didn't really, I don't want to, say had a hand in anything, but like was just there. Like, I wonder if that would have caused as much tension.
I have a fun one as well here. What if Qui-Gon survives the Phantom Menace?
That's a good one.
Because we know he's the one who wanted to bring Anakin into the Jedi Order against the advice of the Council. So it'd be interesting to see like how that plays out. If he's the one who actually gets to train him.
If I had a guess on that one, I would think that Anakin would never turn to the dark side because Qui-Gon would be more of or less of a by the books leader, and it would work better for his style.
Right. I feel like Obi-Wan doesn't really get any flack for Anakin turning bad. Like, even when we talked about, like, we never like it was Obi-Wan's fault.
Yeah, because Obi-Wan was very by the book, and it didn't mesh well with Anakin's style.
No, I think Qui-Gon being there would be fun. I think that would be very interesting to see. And like, if something else happens here, because Palpatine is still there also manipulating Anakin from the sideline. So you do think, especially the Clone Wars happens and stuff happens, and Qui-Gon like dies in the Clone Wars instead, and then Anakin's more susceptible that way. So like, you want to make things turn out slightly differently. It's interesting to see that thought experiment play out, and you see, or somehow he turns anyway, old man Qui-Gon is there training Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, but to be more realistic with it, from what I've seen, I know it's only been one, but I know what the second episode of What If is about before I've watched it here.
Yeah,
it seems like let's say whoever is making this show, I guess Marvel, I don't know who's actually behind it, but you know what I mean? If the same group of people were writing this show for Star Wars, I think what they actually would do, like not saying what I want, what I think would actually happen is what if Luke was adopted by Bail Organa and Leia went to live with the family on Tatooine. I think that's what they would actually do.
Yeah, that one I could see.
And Leia would become the Jedi and Luke would be the senator, I guess. Or yeah, I guess Leia was a senator, right? Yeah.
Yeah, another one, another good one I could think of, just trying to think of ideas off the top of my head here, is sort of like what, like trying to hear, like, what if Boba Fett became a Jedi? That was another one I can see them thinking about.
Or what if Palpatine survived? Oh, wait, apparently he did.
Well, how about this one? What if Maul actually died? Jump
What
to
about-
the Clone Wars era.
What if, here's the what if, that comes right out of Clone Wars. What if Maul's plan succeeds?
Hmm. And Ahsoka becomes
Maul's apprentice.
Maul.
Or
Yeah.
what if Obi-Wan Kenobi did join Count Dooku?
Yeah.
Was Dooku telling the truth in Attack of the Clones? Would he have teamed up with Obi-Wan and took down Palpatine, and then he probably would have wanted to rule the galaxy himself? Sure, but
I think
I think he was telling the truth.
yeah, because that's the Sith way. You always plan to overthrow your boss.
Yeah.
So I think those are some fun what ifs. So keep an eye on this show, see if anything strikes our fancy in the future. But I want to thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. Pete, how can you follow social media? Keep up some of the stuff you're up to?
As always, Twitter at PJ Consadori29. Always retweeting this podcast, a lot of Rangers stuff. Just as a little sneak peek that you probably will see as this comes out, the NHL 2022 trailer comes out, I believe, tomorrow. We're recording this on the 18th to the 19th. And a New York Rangers logo was premiered in that trailer. So we're thinking that maybe Artemi Panarin or Adam Fox is going to be that cover athlete. So that'll be a little prediction to see what comes out tomorrow. Again, tomorrow meaning when we've recorded this.
Yep. And it'll be out. We'll have that knowledge out by the time you actually listen to this. And Nick, I know you got some people interested in your time on the Reddit streams after the movie podcast, but you're still collecting followers on Twitter. You're not ready to give it out yet.
Yeah, still collecting the followers. Leave it down below and I'll see what I can do. But I'm really excited about this journey we've taken, obviously, so far, and I'm really excited about the future. And I want to make sure you guys remember when you're sitting there watching season 2 about what I said about the finale. And whether you agree or not, it's another story. I think even if you disagree, I think it'll be close. I don't think I don't know there's anyone in the world anyone will dislike it. But I'm really excited to talk about that. That's like one of the moments. It's my favorite moment in all of animated Star Wars and close to favorite moment in all of Star Wars. A lot of rewatchability there.
Absolutely. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it all the time.
It was a blast. Thank you, Mike.